Tonight, Wasco forced to reassess security protocols following the death of a British national near the John Compton Dam. Police are unraveling the details surrounding an alleged kidnapping in Grosley. And Mary Francis fires back at the Castries mayor after he called out human rights advocates for hypocrisy.
There needs to be more education out there in terms of the whole question of human rights law.
The details of these stories and more are coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good evening, it is Monday the 19th of August 2019. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We're on Flow, channel 117, also being simulcast on Kiss FM 105.5 and 105.9. We're live on Facebook at Caribbean Hot 7 TV, and you can also watch on our free Caribbean Hot FM mobile app. I'm lovely Saint Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. At about 4:30 on Friday, officers responded to a report of a suspected electrocution in the general area of the John Compton Dam in Roseau. On arrival, an unresponsive male was discovered by officers. A medical practitioner was summoned to the scene who pronounced him dead. He was formally identified by relatives as 68-year-old Martin Ellis, a British national vacationing on island. The death of Martin Ellis has raised security concerns regarding accessibility to the John Compton Dam location. The Water and Sewage Company Wasco says a thorough investigation on the part of the police and internally by Wasco officials is being carried out. Solange Alfred tells us more.
UK national Martin Ellis collapsed and died near the John Compton Dam on Friday, 16th August. The man, along with his 3 sons, were at the facility for unknown reasons and unbeknownst to Wasco officials. Communication and Marketing Officer at Wasco, Sherry-Ann Williams, says the company is deeply saddened at the unfortunate passing of the visitor at its facilities, and she also provides further insight into the situation and undocumented entry of the group into the island's primary source of water.
We as a company at Wasco are deeply saddened by news of the death of a foreign national who apparently died at one of our facilities on Friday. Apparently, we received the news late Friday afternoon about this incident. What we were informed is that Mr. Martin Ellis and his 3 sons gained access to our facility at the John Compton Dam. Of course, you know that work is currently ongoing at that facility. We have both phase 1 and phase 2 of the rehabilitation exercise taking place simultaneously. And these 4 individuals gained access into the facility without getting the requisite clearance before doing so. Well, our policy for visiting the dam is that you must be accompanied by Wasco personnel if you want to visit the area.
Williams says after gaining entry into the dam, inclement weather forced the 4 individuals to seek shelter under a nearby shed within the facility. This is where she says Martin Ellis collapsed.
At some point, while the individuals were at the dam, it started to rain. And shortly after that, during that time, they sought shelter under one of our huts down at the facility. Shortly after that, we understand that Mr. Martin Ellis collapsed. We did of course call in the emergency personnel as well as police to the scene so that they were able to conduct their preliminary investigations as to what may have happened. What also happened is a medical doctor was on the scene who pronounced Mr. Ellis dead at the time. Of course, it is always unfortunate when you have to report on a death or when you have to inform family members of such an incident, and we found ourselves having to do so over the weekend because of this tragedy.
The question remains, how will 4 non-nationals able to gain entry into the island's main source of water undetected? Williams says the dam has personnel in place to ensure the security of the facility. However, the concurrent rehabilitation project may have played a role in the lax security setting.
There is security at the facility, and as I mentioned before, works are currently ongoing, and it is a situation where Mr. Ellis and his sons crossed the chain that is blocking entry onto the lake. And we do have security at the facility. At the time, we were told that unbeknownst to security officials, and despite having been told by our personnel, our WASCO personnel who are stationed at the dam, that they need to get the requisite clearance, we are told that the group of individuals proceeded without getting that clearance.
Williams says an investigation will be launched internally by WASCO officials in an effort to retrace the steps of the group and have a better understanding of ways to improve safety and security. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
One person has been formally charged following reports of a kidnapping which took place in the community of Grosley on the 15th of July. Press Relations Officer in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, Corporal Ann Joseph, says the victim engaged in 2 separate identification processes.
We received information that it was published that that matter was not taken down formally as a report, and that is not correct. The matter was documented as a formal report, an investigator was assigned, and an interview was conducted immediately. Subsequently, a statement was recorded from the victim of that matter. After the statement was recorded, that individual took part in 2 identification procedures after 2 individuals were arrested in connection with the report that he made. One person has been charged, one person was charged the same day, that is on Thursday, the 29th of July, that is, apologies. That was on Monday, Thursday, the 15th of August, 2019. One individual was arrested and charged. A second was charged on Friday, the 16th of August, 2019. They both have received bail. They're currently on bail. One was taken to court today and was bailed in the sum of $10,000 cash. The first individual is bailed in the sum of $15,000 cash. And the individuals are Jonas James and Franklin Rambali.
Joseph is aware that there is talk of allegations that may implicate a minister of government. However, she says categorically that this was never mentioned in preliminary reports given by the victim.
We can say that when the individual made the report, there was no mention of any adverse behavior or untoward behavior on the part of any minister of government or any parliamentary representative. No one was reported in this matter as having done anything untoward, anything illegal. What we can say is if this individual has any further details that he wishes to offer the police, he is free to make a report at the Grosley police station, and that will be investigated from that end. But what we can say now, from his statement provided to the police, he never made mention of any minister of parliament being involved in any way.
He didn't mention a particular police officer what asked him to not tell anybody that he made this report. Did you get a report of that as well? Have you?
Well, what we can say is the police officer that he's mentioning is actually the one who documented the report, entered it formally as a report, and who is the person who initiated the investigation. So him saying that the police officer told him not to mention it to anybody, it is in no way untoward. There's nothing suspect of the behavior of the police officer. In any case of such a nature, any police officer, any responsible police officer would advise that person to refrain from telling other persons that you've made a report. You don't want a situation where you further jeopardize your security, your safety by telling too many persons that you've made a report to the police after having been allegedly kidnapped.
Joseph explains that the police officer in question acted ethically by advising the victim to refrain from telling individuals about the matter for her own personal protection. The National Youth Council is airing its concern about what it deems a major social crisis. Disturbing photos showing youth passed out, reportedly due to alcohol abuse and binge drinking at a fete called Live in Color, have gone viral. The NYC says the young population is being seduced into alcohol abuse in many instances.
It is said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. By Sunday, numerous photographs began circulating showing young people passed out in the sand all along Pigeon Island at the latest fete. The National Youth Council's Public Relations Officer, Edison Lane, says the photos paint a picture of social crisis. Reports suggest that there was heavy alcohol consumption, which led to a number of youth accessing emergency services provided at the event, while others passed out in obscure locations. Lane says there are questions to be answered.
It's getting to the worst of the worst, and we're seeing that more and more young people in St. Lucia are being seen as a market for the sale of alcohol, rather than the creative and inspirational individuals that they are, as it is the young people who causes the society to pivot and to change. We call upon the organizers to fully understand the severity of this encounter, of this situation, because we have young people, and I want to know, were checks and balances done? Are we sure that all of these individuals were over the age of 18? Because we really need to question the state of our socialization here.
The PRO says the powers that be have a responsibility to ensure safe avenues for youth to partake in arts and culture, and to ensure that accessibility of alcohol to minors is not taking place.
We call upon the authorities to ensure that our young people are kept safe throughout these events. I mean, we're looking directly in the periphery of Carnival, where we had events in so many communities, and it involved the same concept: drinking, an absurd amount of alcohol being consumed. And it's directed towards young people, our young population, and we cannot have it.
The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, says the harmful use of alcohol is one of the foremost common preventable risk factors for major non-communicable diseases and even violence and injury. Lane says for young people who engage in binge drinking or any form of alcohol abuse, they need to take personal responsibility for their health and well-being.
So it is in fact the call on to young people also to realize that this is not the only way of socializing, that this shouldn't be an indulged form of enjoyment, because alcohol is severe and it damages our health directly. It has severe implications to our health and to, of course, the lifespan of the individuals who consume it. I mean, in men, we could go very deep into the scientific effects because, of course, there are many.
Recent studies conducted in secondary schools on island revealed that by the age of 11, most students had already indulged in alcohol. The statistics, and indeed the trends displayed on social media, point to increasing alcohol consumption among youth.
Now, apart from the heavy drinking, the event was not without other mishaps. Solange Alfred reports.
Live in Color, a time to eat, sleep, rave, repeat. And so the partygoers did just that, enjoying themselves to the music played by local, regional, and even international DJs in the person of Travis World. The event, by all accounts, was a major success. However, there was one incident of violence. Corporal Ann Joseph confirms that a 20-year-old was stabbed, and currently 2 individuals are in custody in regards to the stabbing. With no charges being brought up against any individual, the RSLPF was not forthcoming with additional information. Meanwhile, the fire service is providing insight into reports of heavy liquor consumption and bad behavior. Telling the extent of the damage is leading firefighter 542 Stacy Joseph, though she says a briefing with emergency services has not occurred.
We have not yet been briefed on that event. There's a debriefing with the managers of that event at some point today. When we do get that information out and everything comes out in the open, then we can give further information on that. However, the fire service did transport 2 other patients from that event. One was unconscious and one was vomiting blood. They were both transported to the Victoria Hospital.
Were there any stabbings at that event?
The 3 of those stabbings were recorded at that event from between the hours of 5 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Probing the police on age restrictions and accessibility by underage youth into mass crowd events where alcohol is center stage led Press Relations Officer in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force Press Office Corporal Anne Joseph to confirm the event organizers and police on scene at the event did ask individuals to present their identification.
I can only speak to what is evidence. I'm a police officer and we deal in facts. I cannot speak on opinions or hearsay or what persons may suspect. I can only deal with facts. We have had no reported cases of minors being at these activities. And yes, there are areas where, and I know for a fact that that particular activity, there were persons who were asked to present their IDs based on an assessment that was made by the officers at the activity. So there are ways of enforcing, bring your ID, simple things, checking for IDs, and that was actually done at a point at that particular activity. When you're saying that at these events there are underage persons who consume alcohol and you know that, then you do have a degree of responsibility as well. You have a civic responsibility, not just as a journalist, but as a St. Lucian. If you see somebody who's consuming alcohol and you know that person for a fact to be below the drinking age, that is 18, you know that for a fact. You have a civic responsibility also to do what it takes to ensure that person is either brought into the police or that person is no longer served alcohol. It's not just, we look at these things in isolation. It's the police's responsibility. No, it's a community responsibility.
Joseph says the policed activity was abuzz with security personnel to ensure law and order was maintained at the mass gathering.
The activity was actually policed. There were over 40 police officers in uniform. There was also a complement of plainclothes officers. There were senior officers in and out of uniform. There were also patrol teams. 2 mobile patrol units were actually there. And with any activity, once it's completed, you need to have a post-mortem of the activity and to assess what are shortcomings, if any. What I can say is, again, we're here, and I don't know what reports you're referring to. Maybe if you make specific reference, I can speak to that. But in general, most of the complaints that I saw on social media was in relation to excessive drinking. And if you as an individual frequenting an activity are not responsible and you don't take ownership of your consumption of alcohol, then you create an environment where there is additional responsibility, not just for the police, but patrons as well.
Police are expected to have a post-mortem of the event within the coming days. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
We took to the streets to find out whether, like the NYCPRO, you believe that there is a social crisis where alcohol use by youth is concerned, or whether you think the matter is being blown out of proportion due to an isolated incident. Here's what you had to say.
A lot of alcohol doing much in St. Lucia, damage in St. Lucia, because most of the people that in need there right now, there is alcohol let us drink. So they better stop it.
You can't make nobody choice. So sometimes you tell them not to drink the alcohol and sometimes they drink it. But we can't make nobody choice.
I say the only thing is that they must turn to the Bible and get correction in there. But that's what I know, because we are religious and we are wondering, well, really the Bible talk about these things will happen, but it is.
They just have to behave themselves and stay off the road. Yes, there is a problem with our youth consuming alcohol in St. Lucia. First of all, a lot of sicknesses stem from alcohol. And God tells us our body is His temple, right? God tells us that our body is His temple. And as such, we have to take care of it, right? When we consume alcohol, it damages our kidneys, our liver. And once these things stop functioning, all the rest will follow. Then it becomes sugar after a while, right? In addition to the fact that we eat in a lot of starchy foods that turn up in our system. But I also want to tell you, because of the trend of the music, and the various things that condones alcohol and accepts it. But people would go for it. But government can stop that simply, just ban all these breweries and all these things and we're good to go. But it's a business. And because it's employing people and it's keeping people, it's generating economic activity for the country. When you look at health vis-a-vis that, we'd rather the people die and they're making money.
With the youth self, I think is because parents don't really pay the attention to the kids like our parents paid to us when we were young, So the children are just going astray. And then it's not like before. Parents have to hustle now for their daily bread. So they don't have time with their children like how the mothers used to have before. I think that is really what has happened.
If much people don't drink alcohol, you're getting less people behaving good and everything organized.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. When we come back, a tale of Mary and the mayor. Dr. Ernest Tilley is chewed out for comments at a party meeting, and the Labour Department is called on to step up to protect non-unionized workers. That and more when we return.